Hey everyone, Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com and welcome to my humble abode. Today I've got a video for you showing you how to record vocals, really 2 steps to getting a great vocal sound. This is what I do all the time when I'm tracking vocals, for me, for a client, whatever. There are a lot of variables to good recordings of vocals, okay? So you have to be a good singer, right? If you're not a good singer, it's probably not going to sound great. Your microphones, right? What microphone you use makes a big difference in terms of the sound, not one being better than the other, but different. So I don't have a whole lot of control over you as a singer. I don't have a whole lot of control over which microphones maybe you have available to you. Maybe you don't either. The room you record in, you probably don't have a whole lot of control over that. If you have a home studio, you're probably in your home, in the best sounding room or the best available room to you. Okay, but 2 things you can control are distance from the mic placement, and then gain staging, how hot you record into your DAW. And those 2 things make a huge difference in terms of the quality of your vocals. So that's what I'm going to focus on in this video and show you really how it really is just 2 steps for recording any vocal. This is what I do. So today I'm using a Rode NT1A, which is a large diaphragm condenser microphone. It's a great all-around mic, real simple, real affordable. It has no bells and whistles. It does one thing and one thing only. So it's great for vocals. And it comes with a pop filter that's attached to the shock mount, which is super cool. As an aside, you need one of these, right? You need a pop filter, pop shield, pop screen, popper stopper, whatever you call it. They're like 20 bucks. If you don't have one of these, you go get one today. Stop this video and go get one, because what this does is it kills all the B's and the P's, all the plosives. When you say those sounds, air blasts off your face and it overloads your microphone. And you probably have heard that sound. It sounds really amateur. So don't record any vocals for anything until you have one of these, okay? One of the few things I'll tell you have to buy. Number 2 is not every microphone is going to come with one attached to the shock mount like this guy is, okay? I have an older Rode NT1A from like 8 years ago that I still use, and that didn't come with one when I bought it. So I have a regular pop filter that just screws onto my mic stand. No problem. Grab one of those. You'll have it for years, okay? What the pop filter does for you also is it helps force the distance issue. Because here's the thing. Most people record their vocals too close to the microphone. They get really close. They get closer than that. And that's a major problem. And there's 2 reasons why. The first reason is most microphones, whether it's a condenser or a dynamic like an SM57, doesn't really matter. Most microphones are cardioid, which is a polar pattern. It's the way the mic picks up sound. In this case, it's like a heart shape. Like cardio or a cardiologist. Cardioid, it's the same root word. It looks like a heart. It bows out and it picks up sound in front of the microphone. If you have one of those microphones, which you probably do, then the closer you get to it, whether it's your face or a guitar or a kick drum, the more bass response you hear. Okay? It's just the way the science works. It just builds up more bass, which is great if you're one of those guys in Hollywood that does the trailers for movies, right? They have those big, boomy voices. Well, they probably do have a nice, big, boomy voice, but honestly, a lot of it is they get right up on a microphone and they basically eat that thing while they're talking, and that's how they sound like God. If God were doing a voiceover for a movie trailer, it would sound awesome and big and deep in my mind. So that's plays to their strength. In the studio for music, that's not what you want. You want a vocal to sound natural. You want it to sound like I'm in the room with you and you hear me sing. You go, that's what Graham sounds like. You want your microphone to hear you naturally, right? Whether you do effects later or tune it, I'm just talking about the bass response. You don't want anything hyped. You want natural. So to solve that problem is don't get so close, right? How close should you be? I like to be 8 inches to a foot away. So what I do is I take a pop filter and I put it about 4 or 5 inches away from the microphone. That is my boundary. That is my caution tape, which says you can't get any closer to this unless you're going to go around it. So I know, or my vocalist knows, they might move, but they're not going to get any closer than 4 inches away. I think that's a great boundary. But after I've set that about 4 inches, I stand about another 4 to 8 inches away from that. So really, I'm close to a foot away. I could be 8 inches to a foot away from the microphone right now. And that's how I sing, and that's how I get my vocalist to sing, because that is going to sound natural. It's going to capture the whole tone of your voice. It's even going to capture some of your chest. It's going to capture everything. It's going to be the way we hear people singing, okay? The other reason why distance is important, you don't want to be so close, is what they call the inverse square law. And I don't like stuff like this because it sounds too textbook to me. But what happens is the closer you are to a microphone, the louder the mic hears you, obviously. But also, any movement or variation in distance when you're really close, it's magnified, right? So if I'm really close to the microphone and I just sway my head a little bit, that sounds and translates to, in the DAW, a major volume change. Could be 3 dB, could be more. Something that you would notice, like, whoa, is he getting closer or further away? The further away from the microphone you are, that same movement of an inch or two is a drastically different effect. You don't hear, the microphone doesn't perceive it as a drastic volume change, which is great for singing, because when you sing, you move, okay? Doesn't matter what genre it is, doesn't matter how up-tempo or down-tempo the song is, every song has motion. And if you're a singer, you're not going to stand like this and never move your face. It's impossible to be hearing good music that you probably wrote and like, and to sing to it and not move. It's just not natural. Maybe you're a robot, but most of us move in some degree to what either we feel the beat, or there's a part of a song where a lot of times you get into it with your whole body language as you're about to just blast off some awesome note. That's movement, right? So to avoid that being noticeable in the recording, get a little bit further away and then just sway a little bit. It doesn't make a difference. So distance is huge. 8 inches to a foot away is great. Anything farther away than that becomes a problem, because now the microphone, which is dumb, microphones don't have brains, okay? I've written about this. It only hears what's in front of it. And so the further you are away, the more it's going to hear you, plus all the reflections of your voice in the room, okay? Doesn't matter if you have acoustic treatment or not. This whole room is treated. This isn't soundproofing, okay? You might be in a soundproof room, which is great. It's going to be super quiet. But this just minimizes some of the reflections. There's always some reflection, okay? Unless you're in a booth, maybe. So they exist. What you want to do is not allow the microphone to hear you and the reflections in the room equally, okay? You want it to primarily hear you. It can hear some of the reflections. It can hear a little bit of noise outside, because in the mix, you're not going to notice that. But the further you get away, the more the room is about equal with your voice, and that's too far away. You don't want that. So I have found a sweet spot between 8 inches and a foot away is great, with 4 being the absolute closest I ever want to get. If it's a real quiet, intimate vocal sound, I'll do that. So distance is key. Sing like that, you'll get a much better performance. Number 2 is gain staging, and this is so critical for a lot of newer recording engineers, people that are getting into this, people that are just playing around in their home studios. No one's taught them about signal flow and gain staging. And this sounds so boring when I bring it up in mixing or whatever, but this is like the easiest thing you could ever do and have huge impact in your recordings and mixes. And here's the problem, is most of you out there are recording things too loud, okay? You're just simply recording things too loud. So you've turned up the gain on your preamp or your audio interface, and that meter is jumping real close, and it's just super hot. You don't need to record things that loud. If you're recording at 24-bit, which most people are, you have plenty of headroom. The noise floor is not really an issue. It's a super clean environment. Even in a simple $150 USB audio interface, 24-bit recordings, you don't need to record loud at all, okay? And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn that preamp down when you're singing or your vocalist is warming up. Record a little bit, keep your eye on the meter in Pro Tools or your DAW or whatever, and look at how hot it's getting, right? And adjust the volume, the actual gain on that box on your preamp, so that you're not peaking anywhere close to the top, because you don't want to clip. That's great to not clip. That's step 1, right? But what I like to do is record so that the meter is just around 50% of the way up. It'll peak a little bit above 50 every once in a while on the loud parts, but I want to keep it at or below 50%, which is really low, right? And as my good friend Fab Dupont says, when you record that low on the meters, it looks really unmanly. You feel unmanly, right? I get that. It doesn't look cool to have it way down there, but what matters is, does it sound cool? It will sound better when you record it quietly, okay? Not super, super quiet to the point where you can't do anything with it, but just 50% of the way up is a great starting point, right? Let me show you. I'm going to sing a little bit. You're going to watch the meters in Pro Tools and kind of see what that looks like, at least in Pro Tools, and get an idea of how quiet I'm talking about. I'm just going to sing a cappella, and some of it's up, some of it's down, but take a look at the meter and see what I'm talking about. Lift up your heads, O you gates, and be lifted up, you ancient of doors, as you wait for the King of Glory's coming. The King of Glory reigns. Right? Nothing crazy loud. I've set my preamp to just make sure that if I sing like that, the volume doesn't go crazy peaking anywhere close to 75%, 80%. I don't want to be that hot, okay? This is critical to you getting a great sounding vocal that's going to not cause a lot of just massive pile up at your mix bus when you record 20, 30, 40 tracks and they're all super loud and then you're crushing your master fader. Now, if it's not loud enough to you, if you can't hear it in your studio monitors or your headphones and your vocalist is saying, turn me up, you don't turn them up on the preamp. You've already got a good level. You turn them up in their mix. Okay, you can use your sends or your mixing software that comes with your audio interface or however you set up your headphone sends for their mix. Turn that jank up so they hear what they're hearing, hear themselves well, but do not turn up the actual preamp or the audio interface. That's going to affect the actual signal. So keep that where you need it, where you see the meter, where you know it's good, and then do something after that with the fader or anything so that they can hear themselves fine. That's great. You want them to hear themselves, but don't grab that knob and turn it up, okay? So I hope that makes sense. It's simple. Distance from the mic and gain staging. Those two steps, if you get those right, there's no way you can't get a killer vocal, okay? That's all I'm doing in the studio. Microphone choice makes a big difference, sure, in terms of EQ. It can be brighter, darker. The room you record in can be wetter, drier. But really, at the end of the day, distance and gain staging are what you need to fight for, okay? I hope that helps. Again, this is Graham at therecordingrevolution.com. Go make some great music this week. If you have any questions, shoot them over in the blog. I usually check them there. I don't have a lot of time to check all the questions and comments on YouTube. I wish I did. But ask me a question there on the blog. I'll be glad to answer it for you. Go make some great music. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.